I was going to ask you how you got involved. So around that point, 2011, that's when you were sort of like involved in running an event.
Yeah. And
So
then,
yeah, what sort of
yeah.
happened from there, I guess?
Okay. So, yeah. So back in 2012 or 2013, I got my swag back from China or from Cambodia.
Mm-hmm.
And this was, I mean, the banner is still hanging somewhere in our hallway, 2012. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why what I mean with sustainable swag. It should go on forever. But I really liked the idea of organizing something and being a part of that global community.
Mm.
And so every year I registered. There was like a website, and there was like a wiki where you could put your event on and add some data. It was a bit cumbersome because you had to create like an account on two sites, and then you had
Mm.
to put them together, and it was a bit complicated, but it worked. Okay, let's keep it with that. It worked. And like in 2022 or 23, post COVID,
Mm-hmm.
well, in April or May, on the mailing list, I asked, "Hey, who's gonna? When are you gonna update the website? Because I want to register my event."
Mm-hmm.
And then the existing board member um, sent a mail out uh, that he and his wife were the last two remaining board members, and they were resigning because of COVID and because of, yeah, I mean, they had been doing this for 15 years, I don't know, a really long time. They had put a lot of effort in it.
I know
And in
obviously a lot of events
2009,
weren't happening during that time. Did
yeah,
any Software Freedom Day happen during like that 2020,
ap-
2021 time?
apparently a five or so.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, so a
But it would have been
few,
like a
but
massive
not.
drop off from the year prior.
Yes, yes. So I mean, in the peak, the period around 2011-12,
Mhm.
there were like 650 events. And in an interview, somebody asked, um, wh- the I forgot his name. Damn it. Uh, I forgot his name. Sorry. The previous board member. And what's your dream for Software Freedom Day? And he said, my dream is to have 1,000 events. And it started going downhill. So it was like he jinxed it. I don't know, but I mean, it was also a change in time, because then you had like the cloud services coming up, the Google
Mm.
Cloud, that was also free as in beer. So, and I mean, the free as in freedom services could not compete with free as in beer,
Right, right.
because you still had to run your server, you still had to set it up. And I mean, if you had access to uh, unlimited space at Google,
Mhm.
and Google was really into open source back then, because they had the Google Summer Code, and they had like a really big community. And uh, and back then I remember Google was like really the front runner in the open source community.
Mhm. Mhm.
And they supported like a lot of events, including including Software Freedom Day. They also gave us like financial support. But so those things were happening.
Mhm.
And then these kinds of supports started diminishing
Mhm. Mhm.
financially. And also we felt how I have the feeling that Google actually took that spirit from the open source community, that great enthusiasm,
Mm.
and they recreated it inside their own ecosystem.
Mm.
Because you also had like these places where developers had like football tables and very cool recreation
Right. Yeah,
places. Yeah, very
you look at
visual.
like that like
Yeah,
sort of developer kind of office that Google really started, and
yeah,
it really
yeah,
was kind of like a hacker space within the company.
yeah. So they took that great vibe and they learned from it,
Mhm.
which I think is a good thing. I don't blame them for that, but they took that great thing, and they transplanted it into their own ecosystem,
Mhm. Mhm.
and it worked very well. And they attracted a bunch of great hackers into the Google infrastructure, and so everything worked great in there.
Mhm.
And I think they kind of cannibalized the real open source community there.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I don't blame them. I mean, they did it. They did what worked for them. Um, And I think that actually you saw a decline because people had to go full in for their job,
Mhm.
work hard, play hard, and um, and we saw the decline. So from 2015-16, it's slowly declined
Mhm.
year by year, with the absolute deep indeed being COVID. And there was also in 2019 there was one of the board members who died in a traffic accident. So that was also something that I can imagine if I would now learn that somebody died in a war or in a traffic accident from our board members, it
Mhm.
would also deeply hurt me, even if I hadn't met them physically yet.
Mhm.
But so this this board in 2023
Mhm.
said, "Look, we're stepping down. If anybody takes over, be my guest. We have maintained the websites,
Mhm.
but if nobody does, we'll be shutting down."
Mhm.
Because I had been nagging that guy with questions on the mailing list. I had to put my money where my mouth is.
Right. Right.
So I basically said, okay, look, if there's five of us, I'm in. And within 2 days, four other people said, okay, I'm in too. And then there, then a few others stepped in shortly after. I mean, there's Archie, who was a graphics guy. He wrote Archie. He's doing great stuff
Mhm.
for the graphics designs. There's somebody from Slovakia who's running another big nonprofit, and he's harboring us because the legal structure was a bit broken. So
Mhm.
we're now an American under his supervision, an American charity.
Mhm.
Um, so we have some legal framework where people can make donations and get tax deduction in America. And yeah, so we have a few very visible people and a few more or less invisible people,
Mhm. Mhm.
and we're trying to grow the movement again.
Mhm.
So and in 2023, 24, we saw the numbers go up. I mean, post COVID, that's not a big achievement. I mean, going from zero, you can't go down anymore. um, but
Well, it could have shut down, so I guess it could have been a bit
yeah,
worse.
yeah, but anyway, so we took over. We started finding our way, reaching out to communities, reaching out to social networks. Um, Basically, everywhere we kind of heard the same thing that you said last year.
Mhm.
Never heard of that. Wish I knew before.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and I was so surprised that nobody knew about that because I mean it was so big, 600 events in 2016, so 10 years ago,
Mhm.
and but yeah. Anyway,
Well, I think some of that is just
okay,
since that point, there's kind of been this whole new generation of people that have started using Linux who have gotten
yeah,
interested in this FOSS space. Especially, I think the big shift, especially for me, was 2018. I think I'm trying to remember the year that Valve got Proton released. I think it's 2018, 2017, somewhere around that point. That brought a whole new generation of people who are interested in Linux over because now you can play your video games on Linux. Like that's you basically unless you're playing like multiplayer stuff, you just don't really have to think about it at this point. So it made it considerably more viable for those people who do care about the FOSS stuff, but they don't want to give up you know, all of that hobby as well.
yeah. Well, actually, Matt Oquist, he was the founder of Digital Freedom Foundation,
Mm-hmm.
of Software Freedom Day, the first edition, back in 2004. He was so his first concept was this software. So back in those days, showing my age again here. When you bought a computer magazine,
Mm-hmm.
it came with a CD,
Mm-hmm.
not even a DVD, a CD, and then you had like trialware on there. Like you had a 30-day version of WordPerfect, or a game that you could only play the first two levels, or
Okay.
so that kind of crap. A few fonts, clip art, because I mean the internet was dial up, so you had to call, and then you had to pay per minute, and you had like a speed of 65K
Mm-hmm.
kilobyte per second, not megabytes. Um, and so if you it took time to download stuff and it
Mhm,
costed you money. So these CDs and DVDs were actually valuable. And and he thought, so there's already this software, this open source software, free software
mhm,
that already works. You had like Inkscape 0.47 or something. You had Open Office, those early versions, and they did quite a decent job actually.
mhm,
They they you had a browser, you had the first Linux versions
mhm,
um, that were already consumer grade. I mean, 04 is kind of early, but you had already the distros,
mhm, mhm,
and it already worked. So he started looking around on forums and found like a small community of people, and also the Open CD project. And the Open CD project was like creating an ISO
mhm,
with all open source and free software that ran on Windows back then, but all the software on there was completely free to use in whatever way. So I'm the four freedoms. Don't have to tell them to you.
mhm,
Um, and so and that took off like really quickly. And I think the first year they had already 40 or 50 events worldwide, and then the year after 150. So we're not there yet,
mhm, mhm,
but I mean, and those local communities actually burned CDs.
mhm, mhm, mhm,
They burned like 20 or 100 CDs. Some let the factory made them, but and then they had like this the sticker front for them.
mhm,
So they created the CDs and handed them out, and that was also very valuable for the people coming because they had free software at no cost, also no download cost. And so it kind of worked. And then the fact that the internet was getting more accessible and more uh, permanent. I mean, you didn't have to dial up.
mhm,
Also changed the fact that because downloading became easier, so the value of a CD was less
mhm,
uh, of the content of the CD. I mean, and so those things all made a difference. I think in how, because you could just install Linux on your computer at home and you could figure stuff out on your own. So the need for that community was less.
mhm,
So I think that's also maybe a point for a lug and for a hackerspace and for those for those physical locations.
mhm,
I mean,
mhm.
reinvent yourself. What's your added value now? I mean, what can you the gray neckbeards do that ChatGPT can't?